Recording.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My gosh, I feel that there are more people now than last time. Every single time I join, there's more people, which is amazing to see. So I'm Biro. I'm been an entrepreneur since my entire life. Started my first business when I was 17. Failed a bunch of times. Got into software as a service, mainly into B2B. Grew a business over 4 years to a million annual recurring revenue and sold it just over a year ago. Currently, I'm doing investments. I'm an investor as well as starting a new business, nothing to do with software, more in the creative space. And I also have a podcast called Misfit Founders, talking to founders from all walks of life about the challenges of growing their businesses. That's like very short and succinct. And as Purdy mentioned, there's a recording online that you can check if you want to learn a bit more.
I know that Southeast Angel is a network of angel investors, but
Yeah.
is there any particular areas of interest or anything that you don't invest in as a group, or like average check size, anything that would be useful for the founders here on that side?
Well, I think it's one, all of the deals need to be EIS or SEIS. And also, I think usually they're raising up to 2 million-ish. Anything larger is above our scope because, again, we're a syndicate. There's angel investors that invest anywhere from 10K to 50K in a deal individually and bringing up to a certain sum. So that's kind of it. And also, Southeast Angel is focused more on the southeast of UK. So we like to see founders from Brighton up to London, basically.
Great. Helpful. Thank you. Right. I'm going to get straight into live pitches. We're going to give people 3 minutes. I'll be timing it. So no need to do anything yourself, Biro. And then I will cut you off if you go over 3 minutes, and then we'll move to feedback. I'm going to try and do this from memory. So apologies if I get it wrong. For people that haven't pitched before first, and then we'll move to people that have pitched. So I'm going to start with Baz, who's the first on my screen, who I think hasn't pitched before.
Hello. Let me go to presenter view. Nice to meet you, Biro.
Nice to meet you, Baz.
So I am Baz. I'm the director of Home Energy Foundry, and we enable anyone to access domestic energy retrofits. I've got a background in BCG Australia, where I specialize in home electrification. I came to the UK for an MBA, worked in a few tech startups in 0 to 1 product roles, and really want to build a company for my own. And actually launched a direct-to-consumer retrofit advisory business, which failed, learned a lot from it, and it informed this business. I'm working with Jakob, who's a building physics engineer, and his expertise is both having very accurate dynamic models for buildings, but also automating that process, and also loosely a software engineer who's got a big tech background, and also a lot of people and operations leadership roles background. I want to start with some context about what we're doing. So we're trying to make buildings energy efficient. Ultimately, this involves a number of improvements to buildings. It's not just about changing the heating system, particularly in the UK context where electricity is so expensive. What we want people to do is the thing on the right, a whole home retrofit, where you're both making the home much more energy efficient and reducing the energy waste, but you're also switching over the heating system. Homeowners that want to do this today have the choice between doing their own research, which is really time consuming and could lead to quite bad results, or getting an expert that can be quite expensive, and does have a very data-driven process and does lead to a good result. But faced with these two options, most homeowners in the able-to-pay market, so owner-occupiers that own their own building, do nothing. What we're doing is creating a third option, where retrofit advisors use our product and they can give a much lower cost retrofit to homeowners while maintaining the same margin, growing their business. And the way this is made possible is software that we create for retrofit advisors, which automates large parts of the retrofit modeling and design process, and helps these retrofit advisors create quotes much faster for their customers. The way this is made possible and why this is only something that can be done now is we're using something called the home energy model. It's a new model which is replacing the current model used for modeling domestic buildings next year. And it's got a number of improvements over the way people model buildings today. It's open source, it's much more granular, and this is really key for our technology being possible. And we're probably one of the first teams that are building on this. So the code for the home energy model was only just released. As soon as it was released, we started building a prototype on it. And we've recently been funded by Innovate UK to build out our product. So when the home energy model is released next year, we're going to have the best software for retrofit advisors. This really feeds into our competitive differentiation. Our competition used the old model, we use the home energy model. The home energy model at the moment is not the compliance standard, so it can't be used for subsidized retrofits. It's only useful in the able to pay market. But this is sufficient for us to test a product, get a great product, and when the home energy model does become the compliance standard, work with the whole market. And this slide is talking a bit about the different parts of the market. So we're going to have the biggest impact in the able to pay market, but we will have some impact in the fuel poor social housing subsidized market. And we see the market growing substantially over time. There's various industry estimates to how big it could grow. These are actually probably quite conservative, but it reflects the people that would be required to help all these homeowners make these improvements. There's a number of revenue sources that we're thinking about to do these retrofits. So we're initially going to start with software revenues and do that quite quickly, but over time move to more financing revenue sources. And we've got some projections of how this could grow over time. We think this could be a really big business. The current retrofit assessor software leader has 50% of their market. So if we have 50% of the market with the home energy model, then this could be a 280 million turnover business. This is summarizing a bit of our progress. So we've got some industry design partnerships. We've raised some funding and funding from Innovate UK. And we've also made some progress on the technology itself. Incidentally, the technology was released with a consultation tool where to model one building, it took 5 minutes, but we've got it running on the cloud and it can model a building in a couple of seconds. So we're already improving quite a bit on what people have seen around the home energy model. Our plan for fundraising at the moment is to raise a small amount of money, have the funds till the end of the year where we can have some customers have the proof points to raise an institutional round.
Thank you. FYI, that was 5 minutes, but
Okay.
Sorry. Biro, I will hand over to you. You can leave your slides up for now, and then Biro, if you want to go back to particular slides, you can navigate through them.
Yeah, so really good pitch, Buzz. I think you have a lot of good information in there. I think the one challenge with these super flash pitches, when you have to do them, and nowadays you have to do them more and more because you'll find yourself in situations where you don't have more than 5 minutes or 3 minutes to talk to a room of investors and so on. I would say presenting a more compact version of this will be great. The reason why is in this super flash run through is quite hard to follow what you're saying and also look at some of the stuff that you're presenting because there's a lot of information there. So one piece of feedback would be if you're doing these flash pitches in the future, compress and make them shorter, cleaner, less information because you're talking through a lot of this, so the visuals can be a bit leaner. The one thing that potentially maybe it was too fast and I didn't get over it is your revenue model. So how you plan to basically charge, monthly fees, consulting accreditation. So I think these will need to be explained a bit better, right? So as in, well, how do you get revenue from accreditation, from financial brokering, and so on? Again, this is when you're in a setup where you have enough time to pitch at a normal pace and so on, because that's one of the things that a lot of investors want to see is your approach to generating revenue sane in a sense? Does it make sense with what you're selling and so on? The other thing that I would suggest with the revenue stuff is some of us, and I know that I am, get a bit taken back by seeing, it's nice to talk about opportunities in revenue, but what are you focusing on first, right? What are you going after in terms of revenue? Well, this is kind of our plan. In the next year to 2 years, we're going to make sure that the software is there and we're charging for that. And that's the first market that we're going after and so on. Because way too often I see founders that go in and say, yeah, and we have all of these opportunities of revenue and we're going to do this and this, just to try to impress and show the investor that there's opportunities for revenue. But again, that can backfire because, you might find yourself in the situation, well, do you have direction? Or is it that you're just aiming to go for everything at once, which means that you have a lot more friction along the way and a lot more challenges that you're handling in the same time.
That makes sense.
I don't know how much feedback do you want me to give Purdy here.
You got another minute or so if there's anything else that you want to add.
Okay, yeah. I think also explaining a bit more at the beginning what the problem statement is, what the challenge is, going a bit more into that detail and your journey into that. Nowadays we invest a lot in people getting into a new industry, but it's also a benefit if you can talk about, you talked about your background and all of this stuff, but how you and your co-founder got to tackle this challenge in a sense, right? Was it something in your past and while working at this, you stumble upon this challenge? How did you come across and got passionate about solving this specific challenge?
Okay, like a founder story in a way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think a lot of us nowadays invest in founders, especially at early days, more than, you have to have a same business plan and idea and so on. But the founder profile is a lot more important, and what drives you, what motivates you to get into this and solve this problem. Because that very often, that's what keeps you on the right track, and that's what makes you take the right decision along the way, because you have this vision and you're passionate and motivated towards it, and so on. It's also perfectly fine. Like, look, I had a business that I wasn't extremely passionate. I liked what I was doing. I was building software. I liked project management, but it wasn't. I didn't have this big goal. But I always had the mission of eventually joining a bigger team, selling and so on. That's perfectly fine as well. But you have to vocalize that a bit of what your intent is there and where you're coming from and what the end goal is with this as well. And that's one last thing that I would add is an really good extra optional, you don't see it on a lot of pitches, is what's the end goal, right? We might have some acquisition opportunities. We want to take this to a specific level. You mentioned revenue levels and so on, but what's your vision with this business? And I'll shut up now.
Thank you. By the way, Biro, I just saw what your t-shirt said when you were talking. It's very good.
I thought that it would be fitting. My favorite exercise is running out of cash.
I love it.
Very fitting. Okay, we are going to move on to Jennifer Kidsey. If you can pull up your deck. By the way, you don't need to pitch with the deck, anyone, if you don't want to. It's totally up to you whether you want to run through it with or without.
Okay. Is my screen shared? Yeah. Okay, cool. Nice to meet you all. I'm Jennifer. I'm one of the co-founders at Kidsey. We are a re-commerce platform for kids gear, toys, and kit. We work with brands as a green outlet for their returns inventory, their end-of-line stock, and their ex-display items. So there is a huge problem with returns right now. Since 2019, around 30% of what we purchase online and 20% of what we purchase in a store are returned, and they're a brand and retailer headache. Returns that are just gently unpacked, half assembled, fully assembled, or even gently used, these items retailers will not resell as new. What happens typically is they get sent back to the brand. The brand has to figure out what to do with it. They either grade it, repackage it, send it all the way back to the retailer, or they sell it cheap in auctions where they might get 10p per pound back. They have to manually post them on eBay. They strip them for parts, send them to landfill, or send them to a warehouse to ignore and deal with later. This is obviously an environmental and a huge cost problem for brands and retailers. And also in the kids space, many times these brands are not even based in the UK. So a lot of big brands are based in the Nordics or in Germany or in France, and these goods are getting sent back and forth across jurisdictions and going through customs. With resale growing 28% each year, and with actually the off-price retail market growing 12% each year, and customers more interested in getting aspirational items at attainable price points, we think that it is a perfect opportunity to help these brands keep this goods in use and get it back onto the shelf in a more sustainable and better return on investment. So we've built a solution for this in the kids category. How we work, I'll go to this slide. So we work with these brands as part of their reverse logistics and as the next life solution for these items. Returns come to us either via the brand, or what will be happening going forward and a little bit right now is they actually come to us via the customer. We grade them in-house at our warehouse, we repack them, and we put them back on the shelf on the Kidsy platform. With end-of-line stock, these items just come to us, pallets from brands directly. We offer the same e-commerce experience with fast 24 to 48 hour shipping, and we offer sustainable brand positioning on a category-specific branded platform. We get to take care of the resale, and brands get to focus on what they really want to sell, which is new product. A little bit about the, I'll kind of skip through this slide. It's the first time I'm pitching this kind of post-pivot, but a little bit about the market opportunities. So globally, 555 billion is spent yearly on kids gear, kit, and toys. Just in the UK, around 8%, or I guess overall, around 8% of all returns that happen are in the baby and kids sector. It's quite meaningful if actually you compare it to fashion, which is notorious for this, and 15% of all returns are in fashion. So it's a sizable opportunity. Just in the UK, going back to that, more than half the stuff that gets returned cannot be sold as brand new, so it ends up being discounted. So this is us. We started in 2022 as actually a peer-to-peer resale platform. We have just this year come out of a pivot to B2B, working with brands on their resale and inventory. But since then, since just earlier this year, we've been able to double our subscriber base from 4,000 to 8,000. We've increased our average order value from £28 per order to £87 per order. We've retained a above 40% email open rate from our pivot, and we've got paid pilots with 6 very large household kids brands worth 60K in revenue. We are now a team of 5 with a few amazing advisors, which I'll talk about. So my background's in net zero. I started my career at the United Nations, and then I spent 10 years working in climate tech. I'm a parent of 2 young kids, which inspired me on this journey in the first place. I've always been seeking out sustainable opportunities, and my co-founder is our marketplace guru. He leads our product. His background's in TripAdvisor. He's worked for online auction houses and more recently Bumper, a car financing marketplace. We've got a developer who works with us, a marketing manager. We've just hired a founder's associate. He's not even made the deck yet. And we've got 3 advisors from marketplaces and from the baby and kids space.
I'm just going to jump in because we're at 5 minutes. So can you?
Oh gosh, okay.
Get to the last few.
So I'll skip through all that. So we raised £250,000 in 2 VC safes last year. Our goal was to prove the B2B model, better MVB platform, and find the right marketing channels and increase our subscriber base. We now are looking to raise to go to market at scale. We need to build out a better integration with the brands on our platform and hire in our warehouse. And that is it. Sorry for going over.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, I think some people mentioned it in the comments as well. I know what it is, but I love kids targeted branding. Like it's just amazing. I love the colors, the shapes, the visual assets and so on. So thank you for that. You also there's a lot of slides that we didn't go through, so it's difficult for me to kind of like give feedback on stuff that I haven't seen yet. The one thing that I would say is I've actually had pitched someone pitched to us at Southeast Angel with a kind of like return and or resell in kids wear, right? Like outfits and clothing for kids, kind of like a similar model. The one thing that I would say, which they've actually done really well in the pitch, is why why are these returns happening? Is it because they change their minds and they don't want the products anymore? Is it because they're kids and they're growing up and they don't need those toys and those products anymore? So I think that's one of the things which you showed the market size and the returns and so on, but I'm wondering why that's happening. So maybe clarifying that a bit, why that it's a market to target into. I assume that it's because, as kids grow up, they need other products and so on, and they don't use the same products, same toys and so on. But again, something to vocalize.
With the just to add to that, so being focused predominantly in like the gear space, it's actually because parents will splurge on something and then they'll also get gifted something. So they might have unpacked like a baby bouncer or like a 2,000-pound pram, and then their parents or grandparents last minute swoop in and they're like, we bought it. So they end up returning something that's kind of been put together. Also things that like the baby never used it, hated it, the kid doesn't want to go on the bike. And all of these things are like, they're quite big items that have to be assembled at home. So it's a real problem when they get returned. It's not, yeah.
Right, that makes sense. The other thing that I would mention is just thinking of some of the slides. You mentioned your subscriber base. Maybe adding a bit more of a commentary there on how you got to that subscriber base.
Okay.
Because I think, again, that's for some of us, that's important as well to see what your strategy in acquiring customers has been so far, as well as what you're aiming for next with the funding round. So I think that's quite important. You did talk a bit about the funding round and what will help you from a logistics and product development and so on. You didn't mention anything about, let's say, customer acquisition and what other strategies in terms of marketing would you apply if any of that investment that you're getting, you'll fund your marketing initiatives. But again, it's not clear if that's going to be the case. And
Okay.
if that's
Yeah,
the
no,
case,
a huge proportion of it is 41% of it is. So I'll definitely focus more
right.
on that.
Okay. Right. So, and then talking a bit about how that's gonna happen. This is another thing that I see quite often is there's a, amount added to go to market, but there's zero detail in the pitch on what that go to market strategy is. And you might not know, right? But at least vocalizing that. But very often I feel a bit more comfortable in putting my money behind a brand or a business if they already come with a prepared plan, right? We need this much money for marketing and sales and go to market and so on. And here's an idea of what we're planning to do. And we're quite confident in this plan.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Thanks so much. We're going to move on to Ashley. Again, no need to use the deck, but if you want to, you can pull it up now, and I'm going to start the timer when you start talking.
Thanks, Perdy. Let me just share screen and bring this up. Great. Can everyone see that?
Yeah.
Great. Give me 1 sec. I just got my timer. I'm going to try and nail this in 3 minutes, guys.
Nice.
Hi, my name's Ashley Lockwood. I am the COO and co-founder of a startup called Oya Kitchens. We're a property marketplace for the food service sector. So, oh shit, sorry. Sensitive. So being a food business in 2024 is difficult. Finding the property that you need is even more difficult. Largely, the specialist types of properties that food businesses need to function are listed on specialist websites like Gumtree and Facebook Marketplace, or you need to have a good network of something like an estate agent, but often they're limited by geography. Contracts are also largely offline, and the whole process of renting space is fragmented and difficult in comparison to other property sectors. So we're on a mission to change that. We're a B2B property marketplace for the food service sector. The closest comparison to what I would compare us to is an Airbnb for the food market. We enable landlords to list and market different types of specialist space, whilst providing a legal framework for them to secure each site. And we also provide booking management, which provides a moat around the businesses and the sites that we list, and also gives our marketplace some SaaS functionality. So this slide is a really great one in terms of actually looking at our marketplace and the value we create. On the left are the types of properties that we list. On the right is our demand and the food businesses that we work with. And in the middle, you can see the value and what we create out of the listings on our marketplace. All of the below examples are things that we've delivered via our marketplace before. We do a lot of dark kitchens, we do a lot of takeaways and restaurants, and we've just literally launched street food markets too. A little bit about our business model. We are very similar to Airbnb on the left, and we take these fees monthly. So we take 15% of the inside rent from the landlord and a 10% booking fee on top. And on the right, you can see our business model for fixed and intro fee spaces. We act more as an online estate agent here. We take 10% of the contract value and a £500 booking fee should the client take the space. How big is this opportunity? We think we're in a lot of white space. There's no one that has segmented the food service property market like we have. There's over 280,000 commercial property units in the UK that could be listed on our website. We think this market, the service obtainable market, is around about 10% of this, which will give us an annualized GBV of around about 330 million. We've generated over 1.8 million for our landlords since inception. We launched our platform in September, and I'm pleased to say I'm presenting this on the back of 3 back-to-back months of growth. May should be our largest in terms of MRR, which is around about 25k. We've been very focused on our partnerships and getting the right supply on the platform. We're working with people like Green King and Punch. We've also got most of the major dark kitchen operators, and we've got some really strong demand partnerships going on too, the likes of Uber Eats, Reef, and Pasture Evangelist, who I'm sure everyone knows. In terms of competition, our biggest competition is high street estate agents. They're outdated and they're very traditional. They're also confined by geography. And as I said at the start, classified ads websites mainly run this sector. Gumtree, Facebook Marketplace, it's the Wild West out there, and we're trying to change that. So what are we doing and what are we raising? We're raising an interim round of 300k. We have 150k already committed from previous investors, and we're looking for 150k made up of angel investment, which is EIS qualifying. Thank you very much. I think I run over and happy to take any questions.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Ashley. Really good. And congrats on the 400k revenue so far. So that's really impressive. The one thing, the first thing that comes into my mind is there's a lot of clarity there, and I like that also you mentioned how you partner up with some brands and so on, and kind of gives me an idea of how you made that happen as well in terms of, you know, generating that revenue so far. To start with, I think I was a bit confused, and I think a lot of people will be that don't know this industry of what is it that these customers want from these venues, or what kind of things they organize. So I saw something like pop-ups there and other bits, but I don't know this industry, so I have no idea that that's a thing that basically some brands, some let's say restaurants or chefs or whatnot want to book a venue for a
Yeah.
short period of time. So maybe explaining a bit that at the beginning of the pitch will help, just to establish what this entire industry around pop-up booking or short-term booking in bars and restaurants and things like that.
Yeah. I was actually speaking to my co-founder Mark earlier about this, and when I was repitching it to myself, I was thinking, is this clear enough to someone who hasn't seen us before? And I think that's something we need to improve on.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out cause that diagram is really great that you put there with, oh, who's booking and who's hosting and for what reasons, but there's no story behind it. So I was trying to figure out, oh, is that a thing? Are they booking for a pop-up? Are they booking for a recipe thing or a workshop? And just explaining this market a bit better. Then the one thing, I know you have like a written there a bit, and I think I've mentioned this previously with what you're looking to raise, talking about that and explaining what you're gonna use that money for. I didn't really have time to read that whole bit.
Yeah, I mean, the difficulty is trying to nail it in 3 minutes, but
yeah, true.
Yeah, it's a tricky one to get down. But yeah, essentially we're nearly at break even, and we're going to use this cash to grow regionally, to market the platform, and then raise our seed round in Q1 next year.
Okay, cool.
It's just difficult to try and get that, as I said, in a.
And again, as I
180
mentioned
seconds.
before, it's kind of like the split. Is it, how much of that goes to salaries, how much is invested in the platform, how much is marketing and so on. And when you have enough time talking a bit about, especially most importantly, I would say if I would be in an order, would be the go-to-market opportunities with that investment, the platform changes or what you're planning to invest, because that more often than not raises red flags, right? Because a lot of people come in and say, well, we have a working product that's generating revenue, but we're raising this money to add XYZ features, right? And sometimes they invest more money into that rather than getting more customers so that they generate more money, so that they can build more features and hire more people, right? So explaining that split into how you're planning to basically invest the investors' money is really important. And then I've not seen anything, I don't know if you have it in there or not, but I've not seen anything about your team and
yeah, I mean, again, I was trying to nail it in 180 seconds, but yeah, I think we need to build a bit. We have got a great team page, but I want to build a bit more out, especially about Mark and I's background, because I think that adds a lot of value. But yeah, I didn't manage to get it in on this one.
Yeah, but again, I liked a lot of the messaging and the explanation there on the market, how you got there, what you managed to achieve so far, partnerships, and all of the other things. So yeah, and it's pretty clear to me as well just because this is a business where you go and yes, you do kind of like marketing and advertising and so on, but doing these deals and going and sitting down and talking to this venue and presenting the platform and so on, that I think that's something that, because you compared with Airbnb, that's what Airbnb used to do in the early days, right? They were knocking at people's door and saying, hey, do you have a couch to book and so on. So I suppose that's part of your partnership strategy approach as well.
Yeah, I don't think there's a pub that we haven't well, there might be, but there's very few pubs we haven't knocked on the door of yet.
I'm gonna stop you there. I'm gonna see whether we can get through Keith, Rachel, and Radovan. And then everyone else here, I think you have pitched once before. So if there's time, we can practice with Hugo in the next session, but let's try and get through these three first. So Keith, when you're ready, if you want to bring up slides or talk without.
Yep, I will bring up my slides. Hi, everyone. Hi, Biro. Glad to be here and share my screen. Perfect. So I'm Keith, CEO and co-founder of MedWise AI, and we're supercharging the healthcare workforce with AI. And I'm a medical doctor by background. I used to work 36-hour shifts, 100-hour work week. It's a super grueling job. And I was burnt out. And in the process, I was using three things. One is a fax machine, another is a pager, and then the last thing I used every day is actually Google search. I used Google search to find information to make life and death decisions for patients. It's just not the right tool built for this use case. So I left medicine really with a mission to make healthcare more scalable. And since then, I've been a management consultant, a product manager at a leading digital health company. And I've now partnered with my co-founder, Luis, who have 10 international patents and an AI expert who sold this last AI company to Facebook and Meta. And we've got our chairman, Kevin, who've scaled multiple digital health companies in UK and US as well. And what we're really trying to solve is a huge problem that healthcare system worldwide are facing, which is the shortage of healthcare professionals. There, in the US, 800+ billion are spent on healthcare professionals, but we're still not meeting the demand. We are estimated that we need globally another 10 million in healthcare professionals by 2030. What this means is that doctors, nurses, pharmacists are all working longer and harder than ever before. 61% report burnout, 20% are planning to leave. So we urgently need to support our healthcare professionals, make them more productive, make their life easier. And one specific problem that we're solving is that healthcare is actually a knowledge industry. There's millions of journal articles published every year, thousands of guidelines summarizing these scientific research. And actually, doctors, nurses, we spend hours, hundreds of hours every year, just wasted on searching for information instead of taking care of patients. So that's what we're solving. We're leveraging the latest large language model and AI technology, and we've built an AI-powered search engine. So unlike Google, which have a lot of noise, a lot of patient-facing information, ads, we provide trusted professional content only, and we also provide the answers directly with the sources cited. And unlike generative AI, which like ChatGPT, which have the risk of hallucination, meaning that it would provide factual inaccuracies, and then being really confident at that as well, we've completely eliminated the risk of large language model hallucinations using an agentic AI model. Essentially, we're training the large language model to perform the task of how a human doctor would do a search, rather than just regurgitating and making up some knowledge or information. So we've already been certified across multiple higher standards across the NHS, and we've already commercialized this product as well. So more than 2,000 clinicians have actually switched from Googling to using our AI-powered search engine. And these are some of the user testimonials they've shared online, saying we're the best product they've come across to do searches online. And we can also add local data sources. So these are local guidelines, documents, and policies that are not available on Google or ChatGPT, so that doctors and nurses can search them really quickly as well. So we're growing around 20% month on month organically, with more than 250 GP practices with users already. And we're looking to use this funding round to scale our product to new geographies and to new specialties as well. And we've signed a partnership with Elderly Children's Hospital, one of the leading pediatric hospitals in the world, to launch in pediatrics. So our customers are NHS organizations. So they pay an annual license fee to license the product. And we've demonstrated improved outcome in terms of productivity gains, good user satisfaction score, and good active usage as well across different care settings, primary care, secondary care, and telemedicine. So there's a lot of companies now working in the large language model space, but we're the only company that have been able to build an AI search using an agentic AI approach instead of a generative AI approach, meaning that our search doesn't hallucinate. In the context of healthcare, this is super important because if a doctor didn't have time to double check the output of the large language model, prescribe the wrong drug, they could kill the patient. So we've completely eliminated that risk. And we're very focused on the clinical guidelines that doctors actually use instead of scientific papers, which are too long and cumbersome. And the GP in the 10 minutes consultation would never read a scientific paper to try to make a decision. So we operate a freemium model where we've already commercialized and have around 10 to 15% of the users under the paid plan. We're looking to also start commercializing our free users as well. And we want to get to around 20,000 users, which then allow us to sell healthcare professional engagement opportunities. So this is a proven market, a 9.4 billion market. and with an average revenue per registered user of around $275 per month. And this is some of the examples of other companies providing solutions and tools to doctors, but then commercialized with life science, with huge exits achieved, 2.8 billion exit with WebMD and Medscape, Doximity, which is like Facebook or LinkedIn for doctors, with a 10 billion exit in 2021. We want to become the AI-powered search engine and powering the next generation of clinicians. So we're raising 700K EIS eligible to match fund 1.1 million in Innovate UK grants that we've won. We've closed a tranche already earlier in April. We're looking to close another 515K tranche by end of May, and there'll be also additional overfunding available until end of August. And you'll be joining really good co-investors like Comsom 3C, Startup Health, which are very expert, have a lot of expertise in health tech, and Deep Tech Labs, which have a lot of expertise in deep tech. So yeah, there's us supercharging the healthcare workforce with AI.
Thank you. Again, it went over, but Biro, if you can keep the feedback to a couple of minutes, that would be good, and then we can get through the final two. Biro, I think you're on mute, sorry.
Sorry, I was talking here like a fool for 30 seconds. Yeah, so I was saying really good presentation. Thank you so much. I'm no expert in this industry, pharma, medicine, and so on. The one thing that I would say I really liked was you showing the examples of other companies and, you know, their end goal and the fact that they were acquired and so on. So it kind of like shows that you're looking into modeling your business based on other examples that done great, right? I think the one thing when you have more time is explaining a bit and putting some fears to rest, which is the elephant in the room here is we exist today in a boom of AI solutions. And I've been in rooms with a lot of investors that as soon as they hear AI platform, you know, you would think, oh, well, AI is such a hype now, everyone wants to invest in it. It's actually more often than not the opposite, because there's so much disruption and, you know, things that big names launch overnight that close down smaller shops and so on, because now all of a sudden there's those capabilities internally. I also know now a lot of consultancies and implementation teams that go and do bespoke algorithms and models and so on in organizations based on what they need specifically, and train that data for customers and so on. So there's a lot of stuff happening. So the elephant in the room is we live in a very volatile world when it comes to AI. And I think you should address that, because again, you don't know how the investor in the room thinks and what their opinion is about AI. First of all, there's like, we live in a world where there's a lot of people that don't like the whole AI revolution, and there's some pro folks, and there are people in between that are not convinced that one thing, right, that it should give you enough motive for you to explain a bit better of the technology and the safety of it and all the stuff. You mentioned a couple of things of how the technology works, but telling a story a bit better, right? And then there's the other bit where a lot of investors that I've met, at least, have been a bit like, oh, AI, right? Okay, so yeah, what are the other options? Is this going to be a thing in 6 months from now, or are you going to be swallowed by this other provider and so on? So yeah, that I think the biggest thing would be for me to mention that, and I'll leave it to that because I know Purdy's in a rush with moving things along. But really good presentation throughout. I loved a lot of the components and the flow of the page.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Biro.
We'll go to Rachel next.
Great, I'll just share my screen. Cool. Can you see me?
Yes.
Yep.
Awesome. Cool. Hiya. So I am Rachel and I am the co-founder of a men's grooming tech business called Heist. And we are on a mission to minimize hair loss and damage for the next generation of men by promoting long-term hair health. So hair loss is a universal issue that most guys will face at some point in their lives. It starts early. So 25% of guys will start to notice the effects as young as 21, and 85% of them will have noticeable effects of hair loss by the age of 50. Likewise, half of all guys will experience dandruff at some point in their life. And these issues aren't just physical issues that they're experiencing, it's also having a knock-on effect for mental health. And we know that 90% of guys experience negative feelings that are associated with such problems. And what we're seeing in this modern age of men and new definitions of masculinity is that men are inadvertently exacerbating or exaggerating some of these issues without actually realizing it. So currently there are 171 million guys who borrow a hairdryer. And it sounds like a simple problem, but actually what they're doing is they're using products that are ill-suited for their needs, and it's causing this damage. So what we're seeing is young men in particular, either borrowing from their partners, or in the case of Gen Zs, they're borrowing from their mums. And we're seeing that hair tools not designed for this generation are actually starting to cause further issues to their hair health. And that's exactly why we launched Heist. So we are the first and only brand that has been very specifically tailored around the unique needs of men. We enable styling whilst also promoting and protecting their long-term hair health. Our flagship product is the Heist hairdryer that you can see on the left-hand side there, and it features innovative new thermal technology that automatically toggles between the heat settings at temperatures that are appropriate for male hair and scalp health to avoid damage. We've also got a growing range of hair styling products, the Heist Labs range, and these are all formulated to be, one, heat activated, so they work in tandem with our hair tools, and two, they're all restorative, so they work really well to enhance and protect hair and scalp health. And then looking ahead, we are developing software that will integrate with our hardware. And the idea here is we'll be able to offer personalized hair and scalp health tracking for men, offering really rich analytics that will enhance their grooming routines and doing it in a fun, gamified way. We believe that we are in a really strong position to dominate this marketplace. We've got first mover advantage already. We have bootstrapped our way into over 30 countries and we've generated over 350K in early revenue. We consistently get 5-star reviews and we've had extensive PR coverage, including very strong support from GQ. And we are currently their #1 hairdryer for men, and that was all done through our MVP product. As a business, we will scale quickly because we are very lean and agile. We're a digital first business and we've got established e-commerce channels set up already. We also operate with really healthy gross margins that will allow us to make that transition from D2C into retail when the time comes. In the short term, our next focus is on building out a unique distribution channel through barbers, and we've partnered with the largest barber network in the UK to do that. And these guys really act as an extension of our sales team. So they give us access to the many, many millions of men that sit in their chair every 6 to 8 weeks and trust their opinions and their advice implicitly. And what this does is this gives us a really repeatable and profitable business model that we can apply to other markets as we expand. So over the next 5 years, we've got 5 key target markets in mind that we plan to extend Heist into. And by remaining super and hyper-focused on our single customer profile, our product and our proposition, we can pave our way to doing over 600 million in revenue. And in order to get there, we require 8 million in investment. So we're a really profitable business. And with that injection in cash upfront and early, we can really scale this quickly. We are the right team to deliver on this mission. And that's because my co-founder and I are experts in scaling consumer brands. And my co-founder is a master in digital commerce. So I previously built a whole department that was dedicated to helping consumer brands fast track to brand fame. And my co-founder previously led the digital team at Telefonica O2. You'll probably spot that we've got the same surname, so we are a husband and wife team. And the actual idea for this business started as a problem in our household. So I was sick of sharing my hairdryer with my husband. I got really annoyed and frustrated and decided to find him his own one. And the marketing advertising girl in me was genuinely shocked when I realized there wasn't a solution out there for him. And we really set about solving that with Heist, and that's what we've been doing ever since. We are supported with a really great team of advisors, and that includes that really influential barber network that I mentioned. Gary, who you can see on the screen there, runs that network. There's 60,000 of them. And we've also partnered with a barber turned TikTok creator. He has nearly 10 million followers. So he is a really powerful route for us with market access in mind when we bring our next product to market. So we have recently opened our first funding round so that we can scale. We've got a really proven and profitable business model, and we are raising investment because we can no longer scale at the pace that we need to through bootstrapping. So we're raising £1.5 million, which will get us to that first milestone that you saw on the previous slide of 4.3 million in revenue. The majority of that is going straight into product, which we operate profitably on. And the other chunk of investment, nearly 20%, is going into marketing to optimize our marketing machine that we've already got working well. That is Heist, and I welcome any questions that you've got.
Well, thank you, Rachel, for that presentation. Now I'm really curious on why it's called Heist.
Oh, I can tell you. So Heist is derived from height and style, which is we sort of say, keep it simple with our audience, and it's, the benefits and outcomes they can expect from using our products.
Okay, that makes sense. It's a cool, interesting name. And speaking of cool and interesting, your story about your partner and you getting frustrated, him using your hairdryer and so on, and finding a solution. I feel that should be more at the top at the beginning of the story. I think that kind of humanizes what you're doing quite a lot. And here's why. One of the challenge that I had, and I think I still have with this, is I'm a bit fuzzy around the connection of someone using a person's hairdryer and how that contributes to someone losing their hair or having dandruff. I mean, in a sense, maybe I can make a faint connection and so on, but is this kind of one of many other preventative solutions in order for you to prevent losing your hair or getting dandruff and so on? So that's a bit, because I know this is a big market and a big challenge for men. Like I have a lot of hair, but I've suffered with dry scalp quite a lot and I had dandruff, and eventually after many tries I found a solution that worked for me. And so it's a big market. I think men are willing to try a lot of things, right? I wasn't really sure on the confidence of this helping, in a sense, coming from you in your presentation, and any data and research that kind of like backs that to say, hey, if at a certain age you start using this product and this hair dryer and so on, and it's yours, and that's proven to have help harden your hair follicles and this and that and so on. So it didn't come across. So that's one thing that I've kind of like stuck with me throughout the presentation. I was like, okay, so you have traction, but why is it? But why is it this a solution for that? Is it simply because men are willing to try anything to get rid of these challenges, and they like the product and they use it and so on? And the other thing that I wasn't sure, which maybe you can talk about, because I don't do this, so I don't use a hairdryer, and I know a lot of my male friends don't, and maybe talking a bit about that as well, and mentioning the market, and 1 in 5 men use hair dryers and this and that, and talking a bit more about that, because again, I don't know any of my friends that actually use hair dryer. Maybe if they have a long hair and like they want to dry it and use a bunch of things, but again, these are some of the details that I don't know. Maybe some investors might not get caught into the weeds of it, and they look at the number and say, well, you have growth and you have that and so on. But you will also have investors that are really keen to understand why your solution is the solution or a solution. So maybe clarifying that a bit.
Yeah, I think it's helpful advice. It's so tough to squeeze everything into the 3 minutes. So it's interesting to know the bits that I wasn't getting into the story, because the sort of crux of it is the female market, the temperatures that the current dryers on the market get to too hot for men to protect their scalp health, because their scalp is much more exposed, and guys tend to use them daily if they do use them. So our temperatures operate at a much lower level to avoid that damage. So we need to get that in earlier. And we've also got some product testing happening at the moment so that we can get those data points in early and upfront.
Okay, perfect. And then moving your story at the very beginning as well, because it creates a nice narrative flow of your presentation.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. The other thing I would say is lots of guys do use hair dryers in secret. So there's a whole kind of confidence.
Do they? So then
context.
my friends are just not telling me they're using hair dryers. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna grill them now.
Cool. Thanks for that.
We're at 12:02, so Radovan, I'll see whether we can fit you in maybe at the end with Hugo, if he's up for doing a bit of live pitch feedback. So hold that thought. We might have some time for some more live pitches as well. So keep your hands raised if you're interested. But Biro, we will say goodbye to you for now. If anybody wants to reach out or get in touch or pitch Southeast Angels, what's the best way for them to do so?
Just on LinkedIn, Biro Florin, and you'll find me there.
Yeah, we'll share your LinkedIn profile with everybody as well. Thanks so much. Take care.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Have a lovely one.
Thanks.